I never understood how much I hated my body until I loved it. And that's really saying something because I was basically semi-pro at hating my body. Could have taught a master class. Once during my freshman year of college, I packed a scale in my suitcase for an overnight trip. Dragged the whole damn suitcase into the hotel bathroom to hide from my roommates so I could get that little LED screen to tell me how I was supposed to feel about myself that day, down to the half pound. Several years, a few therapists, and one very healthy relationship later, I got onto cordial terms with my body, but I was never a big fan. After spending so much of my life obsessing over every ounce of food that went into my mouth, every quarter of a half of an inch on my hips, one day last year, I looked in the mirror and just deeply, wholly loved what I saw. I was pregnant. I was obsessed with my belly pretty much immediately, even when it was detectable to no one but me. But I think I was 7 months pregnant when I started ordering bikinis. It was summer in Memphis, and I was incubating a hot little human body, yeah, but these bikinis had nothing to do with temperature control and everything to do with my desire for the world to appreciate this magnificent fucking belly. Who was this person? I didn't even recognize myself. The belly, my skin, my hair, I was radiant, and it was leaking out of my pores because I was becoming a mother. When do you become a mother? Is it when you see the positive pregnancy test? Or when you take the second one an hour later just to be sure? I remember that in a strange and wonderful coincidence, the night my husband and I found out I was pregnant with Henry, I was wearing the same dress I'd worn on our very first date to the Young Avenue Deli 8 years and 28 days earlier. Do you become a mother when you feel your baby kick for the first time? I traveled so much for work while I was pregnant, and I was in the middle of a long day making my way back to Memphis from Boise, Idaho, when Henry really let me know who he was for the first time. I'd felt him move a few times before that, but this was different. Did he know we were going home to Dad? I don't know, but the entire flight from Denver to Memphis, he kicked and punched and danced for me, played at least one solo on air drums. Coming home is always good, but if I close my eyes, I can still picture the way the city looked out my window that night as we made our descent into Memphis, Henry and me. Are you a mother the moment you hear your baby's heartbeat? We heard Henry's at just 7 weeks, pulsing, frenetic, wild, and without rhythm. We heard it again, over and over, every doctor's visit pumping so strong, steady, reassuring. What about the day when they can't find your baby's heartbeat? It's somewhere between all the other moments and right before the moment he is born. When they look and you strain to hear its faithful thumping, but you don't, and no one says to you, "I'm so sorry." No one says to you, "Your baby is gone." Maybe because you are wailing and thrashing and they know that you know, or maybe because you are 9 months pregnant and he is perfect and ready and they cannot bear it. Later, I would learn that no one can bear it. I would find myself apologizing to people for ruining their day by telling them my baby had died. No one can bear it, but I had to. I can remember a dozen career aspirations I had growing up, some short-lived and some lasting, from teacher to musician to novelist, obstetrician, rock writer for Rolling Stone. The only thing I always knew was that I wanted to be a mother. I was one of those kids who made my mom tell me the story of when I was born over and over, and lucky for her, she had visual aids. I was born at home, my mom was under midwife care, and the commercial appeal at that time was doing a story on midwifery and covered my birth. Beautiful photos of my laboring mother accompany a front-page feature story about March 15th, 1985, the night that I was born. There weren't going to be any reporters at Henry's birth, but I had thought so much about what it would be like. In general, I would say I'm crunchy adjacent. Not brave enough to go the home birth route on the first try, but I definitely hired a doula and wanted a labor with as few interventions as possible. It was almost comical to me when our doula asked me if I'd thought about the birth plan. Lady, I have been thinking about this my entire life. We had written the plan out, though, and one copy was packed in my still-in-progress hospital bag. I didn't bring it when we left for labor and delivery on July 16th, hoping we'd be coming right back home. But I knew something wasn't right. My wild, energetic little guy hadn't moved in hours. I'd drunk the cold water and the sugary juice and laid on my side and then my other side, and nothing had happened. Do you become a mother when you do something impossible for your child? That's what I did for Henry. I remember telling the doctor on call that I couldn't do it. I couldn't deliver this baby. She talked me through my medical options, but it was my husband who wisely coached me later that this was something I could do as Henry's mom. This was everything I could do. Bring him into the world so we could hold him and talk to him and say goodbye to him. And so I did. It was nothing like what I had planned. There was no playlist or doula or birthing ball, and the phrases of affirmation I'd come up with in our birthing class were no good now. Do you become a mother when you hold your baby for the first time? What if his body is cold and the room is silent? Henry was 7 pounds, 1 ounce, completely perfect. He was long with fingers and toes to match. He had curly brown hair. Justin said he had my nose. I kissed his forehead and told him I loved him. We played him a song. We stared at him, our perfect firstborn son. Are you a mother when your milk comes in? My breasts, engorged and painful, had no baby to feed. They seemed to ache the worst when I cried. Is it when you bring your baby home? We brought Henry home in a tiny urn designed to look like a bluebird. We got so much mail in the weeks after that. Cards from close friends and distant family and people we'd never met. Friends of friends, some who wrote specifically to say that they'd had a baby die years ago, that they survived it. And we will too, but even now, 20 or 30 years later, they still think of their child almost every day. The cards came again around Christmas. So many of them were focused on the promise of the new year. So well-meaning. With everything we'd been through, fuck this year. Good riddance to 2019. My son was born on July 17th at 3:41 p.m., the 198th day of the year, with 167 to go. 198 days. I was never great at math, but I know that's well more than half the year. For 198 days, I was filled from the tips of the toes on my swollen-ass feet to my luxurious head of pregnant lady hair with the best drug of my life, my child, with me. We went to London, England. We went to the beach. We saw the ocean. We went to the mountains. We went to the West Coast and the Deep South and to many, many airport bathrooms together. All of my best friends, who are far-flung literally across the world, got to see me and Henry during that time, got to touch my belly or feel him kick or just generally overlap with our joy for a week or a day or a moment. So leaving 2019 was bittersweet. It was the year I held and touched and sang to my son. It was also the year I lost him, but he will be missing from me forever. When do you become a mother? As women, we are so often defined by our relation to others. We're someone's daughter, then someone's wife, then someone's mother. We're rarely allowed to be just someone. And I think I'm supposed to resent that, but the truth is, I'm lucky enough to have always known that I am someone in relation to no one else. From whatever internal wellspring comes my unfailing optimism, also comes an unshakable sense of self. And the irony is, it's exactly what frees me to appreciate the beauty of being someone something, of defining myself in those very ways that I think are meant to erase me. Instead, they are the ways that I feel most seen. Because you might know me, Elizabeth, but to truly understand me, you need to know Phil and Beth's daughter. You need to know Justin's wife. When did I become a mother? I'm not certain of the exact moment, and something tells me that mothers of living children don't spend as much time parsing those details as I do. But sometime in those 198 wonderful days of 2019, something changed. It doesn't matter when. What matters is that for as long as I live and whatever else may come, I will always feel most seen, most deeply understood when you know me not just as Elizabeth, but as Henry's mom.